Today I'm going to review another film requested by a Subscribestar supporter. Thank you very much for your donation and recommendation. And if you'd like to support my work here on YouTube, you can do so via the link to my Subscribestar below for as little as $1 a month. It's very much appreciated and helps to keep the show going. So this is a film I hadn't even heard of before, let alone seen. The 1972 Danish-American film, a dystopian sci-fi movie called Z.P.G, also known as Zero Population Growth. The film stars Oliver Reed and Geraldine Chaplin and depicts a brutal totalitarian world similar to Huxley's Brave New World or the world in Orwell's 1984, where the oppressive government tightly controls the population numbers by implementing a ban on reproduction for several decades. The film follows a trend of movies released in the 1970s concerned with population control, such as films that I've previously reviewed, like Logan's Run and Soylent Green. Z.P.G was directed by Michael Campus and written by Frank DeFalita and Max Elric. The Earth in this movie is not only overpopulated, but entirely polluted, and going outside requires a person to wear an oxygen mask to withstand the extreme smog in the atmosphere. Most plant and animal life are now extinct. The population all wear these dark blue jumpsuits, like in 1984, or the dehumanizing uniforms we saw in Equilibrium. It's a bland, grey world devoid of fun and spontaneity, and everything the people have, including their oxygen, is rationed by the constantly visible and intrusive government, which makes public announcements on a regular basis every day. And the food of this horrid future is some kind of paste that comes out of a tube. Delightful. The film follows primary characters Russ, played by Oliver Reed, and Carol, played by Geraldine Chaplin. Carol is desperate to have a child of her own. The government keeps women's maternal instincts satiated by providing them with programmed robot babies. And when a woman begins to feel dissatisfied with these fakes, the state uses constantly reinforcing brainwashing techniques to convince them to accept these artificial infants. If a woman is caught being pregnant or with an actual baby, she and the child will be executed. So every household has an abortion machine. The public are encouraged to snitch on anyone with a baby of their own by taking to the streets and shouting baby over and over until the authorities show up and deal with the dissenters. Suffice to say, people walk around the streets of this horrific world with blank expressions on their faces, showing just how demoralized they are. Carol decides to have a baby in secret, and she confides this only with her husband Russ and her doctor, so the story focuses on them trying to evade the authorities and protect their child, along with the emotional strain it places on them and the difficulties that ensue. There's also a museum that people visit, where they can get a glimpse of how life was prior to the environmental collapse and subsequent descent into this highly controlled and nightmarish society. Their neighbours, Edna and George, get wind of this baby and agree to keep it secret for a while, until the point where they want to share the baby as if it was theirs. Needless to say, they disagree on this, and the neighbours report Russ, Carol and the baby to the police, who place them inside an execution dome. Russ digs them to freedom in a very far-fetched part of the movie, and they escape into some underground tunnels. They find a life raft and sail to an island where nuclear missiles are buried. The film ends rather abruptly. The concepts depicted in the film are actually quite interesting and well executed. The world building is well done, how people live is both terrifying and yet somehow believable, and I thought the sinister concept of placating reproductive instincts and maternal drive with these robot children, that was disturbing but very thought-provoking. By this I mean, it reminded me of this article I saw in studyfinds.org from May 31st, 2022. Virtual babies who grow up in real time will be commonplace by 2070, expert predicts. The overpopulation crisis could be solved within 50 years thanks to the evolution of virtual children. One of Britain's leading artificial intelligence experts claims computer-generated babies that cost about $25 a month are likely to become commonplace by the early 2070s, according to Katrina Campbell. In addition to her expertise in AI, Campbell is also one of the UK's top authorities in emerging and disruptive technologies and a former UK government advisor. She says by 2070, augmented reality and haptic touch-sensitive gloves will make the experience potentially lifelike. By that time, up to 1 in 5 parents may decide to opt for a digital baby over a real one, she believes. It will create what is being dubbed the Tamagotchi generation, the first cohort of environmentally friendly digital children who will not deplete the planet of any of its natural resources. Instead, they will exist only in the virtual metaverse, a sort of 3D internet, where they will grow up in real time and come to life at the touch of a button. Yeah, I know. Highly disturbing. But wow, this film sure seemed well ahead of its time. Anyway, often in these kinds of dystopian movies, there's a common theme of a tyrannical government trying to tightly control society through social engineering and mass behavior modification of humanity. All totalitarian regimes attempt this, taking natural human impulses, instincts, and desires such as reproduction and normal male-female romantic relationships, and attempting to regulate them and to alter them in some way. In the real world in recent years, we've seen calls from some in the environmental movement for people to stop having children in order to save the planet, so in many respects this film made some alarmingly accurate predictions. Like I say, the film was made during a period of the 20th century where political concerns about overpopulation and environmental catastrophe were really gaining momentum in the public consciousness, and this was reflected in the release of these kinds of films. Films that depicted horrific dystopian futures and Malthusian ideas. There seemed to be a lot of this happening during the start of the 1970s. I suppose you could look at this movie as a warning of sorts, or a kind of what-if possible future, and on a positive theme, perhaps, that humanity's natural desire for preservation, freedom, and reproduction will triumph in the end over any brutalist system. But I kind of wished the film had expanded more on these themes and tried to say something more specific, because, like I say, it does end on a rather abrupt and lackluster note. Though it's certainly welcome that Russ and Carol escaped with their child, albeit to an island that may be radioactive. Oh well, on that note, thank you very much for watching this review. Let me know your thoughts on Z.P.G in the comments below. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. The Dave Cullen Show is made possible by you, my generous subscribers. If you'd like to support my work, head on over to my Subscribe Star, linked below in the description box, and for a pledge of as little as $1 per month, you can help to keep the show going. I'm also doing one-to-one monthly subscriber chats. Thanks again. Take care.